It's taken more than half of my life to identify my purpose. But now that I've got it, I can stay on purpose and I can do what I'm doing now, do what we're doing now. I can write and do all those kinds of things and help other people make a difference in their lives. So I'm living my purpose. I got to tell you, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome to have this kind of a feeling.
Welcome to Mirror Talk Soulful Conversations. Today we are joined by Larry, a lawyer, consultant, writer, trainer, and coach with over 40 years of experience. Larry's latest book, How to Succeed in Your Professional Service Business, provides a blueprint for authentic success by blending personal values with effective marketing. Through his work, Larry empowers professionals to leverage their strengths and create meaningful growth in their businesses. Welcome to the show, Larry. How are you doing?
Doing well, thanks. Good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode for Soulful Conversation. I'm looking so much forward to learning everything from your 40 years of experience, and it's still going. But before we go into the questions I have to ask you, you agreed to play our game of cards, basically. So we're going through three questions.
Okay.
Yeah, we have these wild cards, and I'm going to pick a card randomly from the first level, which is the icebreaker. Okay. And I'm just going to shuffle on the right now, pick a card at random and ask you. It's just a means to get to know you better with random questions. So the card I picked right now from the first level is, what is the first thing you think people notice about you?
I've never been asked that question.
Wow. Okay.
Probably how tall I am.
How tall are you?
I come from a tall family. My brother was tall. My parents were big. So to me, it's just the norm. I guess because I am big. I guess two things. I'm very tall. I'm like football and hockey and that kind of thing. Very tall, very big, but also very quiet, gentle manner. So I think people notice how big I am, and then they think, "Whoa, here's this big guy who's quiet and gentle." That's really strange. So I think the combination of the two of them.
Oh, that's it. That's a nice combination, because sometimes when you meet tall, big people, you expect them to be loud and
yeah. And I fess up. I'm an introvert. I'd rather be quiet than loud. I mean, I can party with the rest of them, but by nature, I prefer to be quiet, and so that offsets the size.
Nice. That's good to know. Are you ready for question 2?
Oh, did I pass number 1?
Yeah, you passed it. Awesome.
Okay, good.
Splendid. What do you think your past self would think of you now? Like your past self, your past self.
My past self?
Yes.
Probably, what took you so long? My past self didn't really know what my future self wanted to do. So I made a lot of decisions by default. I did things not because I wanted to, but because it seemed like a good idea at the time. And so my past self would be saying, Larry, if you knew this stuff at 20, your life would have been so much better. If you had done this thing at 30, your life would have been so much better. So, yeah, that would have been, what took you so long?
What took you so long? If I could, this question is not on the card, but just from reading about you, I read that you are a highly sensitive person. Would you say your past self is the highly sensitive person, or you are still that highly sensitive person?
Oh, still very highly sensitive. It's interesting because I'm doing a presentation the end of February in a conference called Hyper Focus to Hustle, and it's talking about what I'm going to be talking about is how highly sensitive person attributes contribute to the success of a business. So in preparing this, in working on this presentation, I learned a lot about myself, but I think, a lot of the things I did, it was HSP in action. I didn't realize what I was doing. I was just doing what was the natural kind of thing. But now I realize that a lot of my more mature actions were part of my highly sensitive self. So, and I think the best is yet to come. Now that I'm figuring out who I am, and now that I'm figuring out what my best qualities are, I don't have to waste time on things that drag me down and that are productive. So, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, the best is yet to come. But I'm just sorry, I'm going off rail right now and from these questions. But as a highly sensitive person, would you say what are like the biggest lessons you've learned so far, like being highly sensitive? What like are some things you had to learn the hard ways, the things that you have to
Okay.
adapt to and embrace?
I think the number one lesson is that it's okay to be your true self. It's okay to be who you really are. We're subjected to so many paid people telling us, do this, do that, do the other thing. You should do this, you should do that, you should do something else, or you're too sensitive, you're far too sensitive. And I think that number one is it's okay to be yourself and trust your own instincts, trust your own intuition, trust what's right for you. We're subjected to so many experts who are telling us what to do, and so many of them what they're doing. This seems to be what's happening is so many experts are saying this is what I did to be successful, and if you do this, you too will be successful. Well, in theory, that makes sense, but in practice, it doesn't because we all have different skills, we all have different gifts, and all that kind of thing. And as I said, I'm an introvert. Yeah, I can do the extrovert, I can do the schmoozing, and I can do all that, but it's really hard. It's really emotionally draining for me to go to a networking meeting and be friendly and gregarious. I can do it. I'm not a bad actor. I can do it, but I'm exhausted when it's over. I am absolutely friggin' exhausted. So it's okay to not do that. It's okay to be who I really am.
Yeah. I like that. It's okay to be who you truly are.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. And that's part of it's interesting because when I figured out or came up with my idea of authentic marketing, I thought, yeah, like if I market myself authentically, all I'm doing is making friends. Well, what's more natural than making friends? We do it in different ways. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And we don't do it. We don't make friends by selling them something. We make friends by respecting, enjoying, getting to know them. And so that's, yeah, I can do that. We can all do that. So yeah, it's the okay to be yourself.
So it's yourself.
Actually, it's better to be yourself. I
Yeah. I
tried
feel like,
being somebody else one time and it didn't work.
do you want to share that with me?
No,
I'm so
no. It's just, well, yeah, I was practicing law and it was in a law firm and my boss told me what to do and I did it and it was awful. It was just plain awful. And I said, I can't do that again. I just can't do that again. And I didn't. Yeah, it was a small matter. I was a young lawyer, so they didn't trust me with anything, but it was a really small matter. And I was supposed to be really aggressive in my questioning. And I can't do that. I just couldn't do it.
it's the best thing to be yourself. That's way the best
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah. So are you ready for the last question?
Okay, sure.
From the cards, I mean not
From the
from me.
cards. Okay.
From the cards, yeah. Sorry, I asked so many questions in between now because I was so interested
Yeah.
in.
I mean, I'm confused. It's fun, but I'm confused.
So the last question from the white cards is, what is something you are really passionate about but don't tell anyone?
Ooh. Can't tell you.
You have to tell me right now. You're on
Oh,
Mirror
okay.
Talk
So
Soul
I have
Conversations.
a waiver about that.
You have to say it.
Oh, there's so many. Gosh, there's so many things I am so passionate about, and I don't I don't usually hold my passions to myself. I just kind of let them go. I I couldn't even go a list of 10 things. There's just so many things I'm so passionate about. I love writing. I love reading. I love music. I love white wine. Love great food. Love shrimp. Love beaches. Love love skiing. That's what I was trying to say. I'm in some respects I'm a work in progress because I keep learning new things. I get passionate about them and stop doing some of the things I used to be passionate about. And it's also an age thing. I mean, I don't drive anymore, which is great, but I walk more. So I'm seeing more when I'm out and about. So I guess I'm passionate about life. I don't say that because that's kind of schmaltzy and kind of ooh, but I'm passionate about life. Some of the great things that come our way. And when people start complaining about something, I almost cringe because surely to God you can find something positive to say about something. Stop the criticism. So yeah, I think probably passionate about life.
About life. I love that answer. Yeah. And talking about, all the passions that you had. When reading about you, I found out that, of course, you're a lawyer and you're a writer. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of things, that one could have achieved in one's lifetime. And that's why I wanted us to actually talk about your book also, because your book started out as a marketing guide, but evolved into something deeper. So I would like to know, like, what led to that transformation and what is the core message behind your book?
Okay, that's a good question. Excuse me. A couple of years ago, I decided to back off from one-on-one client service and do what I call my legacy project. And what I wanted to do was to share some of the key life lessons I'd learned along the way. And so it started out as a marketing book for professional services, but then I realized, well, wait a minute, you can't market professional services unless you market yourself. So it's basically all about personal development as it applies to business development. So it moved into that. So I pulled content out of my archives and I wrote some new things. Wound up with two books, and I kind of divided into one book was basically business development, and the other book was personal development. And then I thought, whoa, two books is a little too much to market. That's a headache. That's a real problem. So what I did was separated anything business related into a book. And then I put the other kinds of things that were not business but personal into a video course so that anybody that just wants to make the transformation, a personal transformation, would benefit from the course. And somebody that's interested in business would benefit from the book. So it was kind of a process like that. And two interesting things there. I'm a great fan of a story I once heard about Michelangelo statue of David. How did he do David? Well, he cut away everything that wasn't David. He got this block of marble and cut away everything that wasn't David. So in order to do the course, I took away everything that wasn't personal transformation. That's how I separated from book into course. And I had a whole bunch of leftover content. So I put that in another book that I'm giving away. I'll give the link at the end of the interview. But so what I tried to do was come up with what I wound up doing was the book itself, which is able to hard copy and ebook format, and the video course. And now there's a third book. It's called New Beginnings, New Opportunities, Letting Go and Moving On, which is a freebie. And that pulls it all together. So it all started out as a legacy project to share some of the ideas I'd learned along the way.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that so much. So, I mean, from your book and from your work also with other people out there, your clients, you have this emphasis on experiential learning over just giving advice, which I find very practical. So I'd like to know, like, how does this approach help service professionals find their own paths to success?
Another good question. Experiential learning to me is just the greatest thing ever. We've heard more times than we care to remember that experience is the best teacher. But nobody tells us how to learn from experience. It's almost as if we have the experience and we automatically learn from it. About 20 years ago, I took a course in adult education. It was based on experiential learning. And so that process has several elements to it, but it's really quite simple. Once something happens, we reflect on what happened, what goes on, the what's, the where's, the who's, the how's, and all that kind of thing. Then draw conclusions. And once we have conclusions, the next thing is, how can I apply this to my life? So in a business situation, when something good happens, you want to figure, okay, what made this good? What did I do? What circumstances allowed this to turn out the way we wanted it? And then try to duplicate that again. If it didn't turn out well, where did it go wrong? Where did it fall apart? And avoid doing that the next time. So it's a case of really taking a good look at the details of what happened and then trying to draw a conclusion from the details and apply it. And it's funny because I almost do that instinctively now. If something turns out good, it's, oh yeah, how can I do that better next time? If something turns out bad, it's, whoops, where did I mess up? And I learn as much from messing up as I do from things going right. And it's a blow to the ego, but it's a great way to learn things.
Sure.
And so it's a case of really, instead of just a knee jerk, okay, that was then, now we'll move on. Really take a mindful awareness. Just really take a look at what happened. What did I do? What could I have done better? And just continue to build that into the routine. So health coach may be recommending something to a client. Turns out the client gets really sick. Well, there may be an allergy. So the coach would say, oh, maybe next time I ask about allergies. That kind of thing. It's not rocket science, but it's just opening the eyes a little bit wider than we're used to. And likewise, if somebody has a physical disability, you don't want them running. You want to find some other way for them to get into shape, chair yoga, water fitness, whatever. So it's a case of, well, if that's not going to work, let's find something that will. And so that's where the experience comes in.
Oh yeah, I really like that so much, because I mean, from our own understanding, from what you said right now, is basically, I mean, from our today's failure or yesterday's failure, is the lessons that we learn from them is going to be what we're going to use as recipe for our tomorrow's success or our today's success.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I also believe that, this is how we grow basically, or evolve or improve our lives basically, from, learning from our wins, learning from our failures basically, also to know what to do better in order to grow and improve and evolve to become a better person.
And it's such a natural, basic process. Think of a child learning to walk. Child learns to walk. First time they try to walk on their own, they fall down. Get back up, start over again. And on and on and on. And then, I learned ice skate when I was like 3 years old. And I have memories of going skating just covered in snow because I kept falling. I kept falling and I kept falling and kept falling. But I got back up again and skated. And so we moved from there, and learning to ride a bike. It's the same thing. How many people rode a bike perfectly the first time they did it?
I don't know anyone that it
doesn't happen. So it's all part of the learning process.
Yeah. And talking about learning experience and learning process, one thing that a lot of us are trying to learn is how to be much more authentic with ourselves. Like you said, when answering those hard questions, like being authentic with yourself. When you're young in your career, sometimes you have to just play the game and you are not authentic. But I love that. I love the fact that authenticity is like a key theme of your work and your work. And that's why I want to ask you this, why do you believe that it's essential in business and in our lives generally to be authentic? That's the first part of the question. And how can professionals align their values with their marketing strategies?
Okay. I think that we were all put on this earth with a purpose, whether you call it a God-given purpose or a universal given purpose or some reason for being here. And sometimes we become aware of what we think our purpose is fairly early. Other times we don't. And certainly in my case, I didn't know what my purpose was. I just didn't know. Like when I was 3 years old, I wanted to be a garbage man because I thought it was really cool to drive around those big trucks. But as I grew and did things and made mistakes, I learned I did more of what I liked doing. And as I became more reflective, I realized that I like interacting with people. I like helping people learn. I like learning. I like writing. So all of these things eventually came together when I wrote my first book. And I remember when I wrote my first book, I was celebrating it with friends. And I said to one of my friends, when I grow up, maybe I'm going to be a writer. And he said, why bother? And I said, why bother growing up, or why bother being a writer? But I think that for me, it's taken most of my life. It's taken more than half of my life to identify my purpose. But now that I've got it, I can stay on purpose and I can do what I'm doing now, do what we're doing now. I can write and do all those kinds of things and help other people make a difference in their lives. So I'm living my purpose. I got to tell you, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome to have this kind of a feeling. And I talk to people who say, oh, gosh, I don't know what I want to do. I hate my job. I don't know what else I do. And it's a case of, you really have to figure out who you are, what you're all about. With the caveat that what's working for me may not work for you. So don't use me as a model. Use my process, but not me, because not everybody can write. Not everybody likes doing the kinds of things I love doing. Conversely, lots of things I don't like doing that I don't do. So I think it's really important to do that. And when it comes to professional services, most clients don't really want our services. They want the benefits, but I've never ever heard anybody say, I got an extra $100 in my budget. I'm going to go buy some legal services, or I got $500. I'm going to go buy some coaching services. It's like buying dental services or car collision services. It's something you do if you have to. You want the benefits, and part of the benefits that we as professionals offer. Sure, it's the technical know-how, but it's also the personal reassurance that, we can work this out. We can work it out. And I learned very early when I was training as a lawyer and when I switched into consulting that my first priority in dealing with a client is to reassure them that we, not I, we can work it out. So I think part of the reason for the authenticity or the importance of authenticity is to make an authentic personal connection. All business is about relationships. I mean, people have relationships with Apple computers and Diet Coke and all those things they have relationships with. But you get into professional service, it's person to person. So we have relationships with our clients. So we develop the trust. And part of the developing the trust is to help them start to trust themselves so they can come up with their own solutions. So instead of trying to drop on a standard one-size-fits-all solutions, those of us who deliver professional services, I think, have a responsibility to help our clients come up with the right solution for them.
I like that people first approach to things.
Has to be. I mean, it's not like we're, our clients are cars and we can take one part out and put another part in. We're human beings with body, mind, and spirit. And all of these factors have to be addressed. And I think that's where the authenticity comes in, because if we are so busy trying to be something we're not, we miss some of the things the clients are saying.
That's true. Yeah. And I think that also has to do with us being aligned with ourselves as human beings, like as consultants, for example. That you have to, like you said earlier, from my understanding, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I have to actually know my purpose and be aligned to that, know my values, I'll be aligned to that. And that way, I'm able to connect with my client in a very wonderful way, I would say, like in a way that I'm able to listen to the person properly, understand what the person's needs are, and be able to attend to the person's needs and maybe help work together to solve problems that they could have.
Absolutely. When I set up my own law practice, I deliberately set it up so that I met with clients around a dining room table instead of the big desk with all the files and the books and all that kind of thing. I set it up so that when I met with clients, we were talking about a real dining room table. My conference room was like a dining room, and people were so much more comfortable. And I was too. Like, I didn't have to sit behind this big desk and pretend I had all the answers. So we were kind of talking around the table, which is so much easier than pontificating and preaching. And a couple of clients, a couple times I hear, "Gee, Larry, you don't act like a lawyer." And I think, what am I doing wrong? Well, I explained, no, right now I have some legal skills, and I'm using my legal skills to try to help you with this situation, or try, work with this situation. You see me 2 hours from now, I'm probably going to have a golf club in my hand, or I'm going to be cleaning up my dog's mess or something, a totally different role. But right now, I am person to person. I have some skills that I want to use to help you solve your problem. And so my clients started to understand that I didn't tell them what to do. I helped them make their own choices. And I could only do that if I was being authentic.
Yeah, that's true. So, Larry, as I'm authentic with myself, I found my purpose. I've already started this service. For example, let me use you as an example, or use your case as an example. I'm a consultant, and I'm offering service to the world out there. But I'm struggling right now with self-promotion because I'm very shy. I don't know how to do it. How can, I make marketing feel more natural and comfortable, even though I'm very shy?
That's a good question. A couple of things. It would be a case of, what comes to mind immediately is probably referrals, family, friends, people that you're very comfortable with. Mm. And instead of asking them to find business for you, say something along the lines of, do you know anyone do you know anybody I can help? This is what I do. Do you know anybody I can help? And start that conversation, and then start talking about how you help them. That's one way of doing it. Writing is an awesome way of establishing credibility. I did my first book as a marketing strategy. And not only did it allow me to clarify what I thought, but it established me as a bit of an expert in my area. So people heard about the book and came to me for advice. So that's a good way of doing it. A lot of authors are introverts, so they'd rather sit behind a computer than sit in a networking meeting. It's a case of whatever work, whatever is comfortable. Maybe a friend who is really gregarious and really loves to network. So have that friend go to a meeting and pass out your business cards.
Yeah, get the support that you need.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Or make the business cards unique. Just there's all sorts of ways around that. And it's a
Yeah.
case of instead of seeing yourself as shy, it would be a case of, well, I'm a damn good professional. I happen to be shy, but I'm not going to let that stand in my way. I'm going to do what I do really well.
Hmm. Yeah. So, so if I'm considering referral system, for example, what are like the key elements I need to put in place for a referral friendly service? Like, it's just word of mouth, encouraging people to share. What do I
Hmm.
have to put into place in order to make it effective?
I think the first thing is that two things. One is to make sure to be really clear on who your ideal clients are, because you don't want a well-meaning friend to send you someone who is wrong for you. When I was practicing law, I didn't do litigation because I just don't have the kind of a heart. Well-meaning neighbor referred somebody to me, had a really messy lawsuit, and I was mature and comfortable enough at the time that said, "I'm sorry, I can't do that. I refer you to someone who can do it, but I can't. It's just not my area." So knowing who your ideal clients are. And the second thing is knowing who you are. I mean, so it's a case of what your brand is. Who are you? What do you stand for? How do you help clients? So then it's a case of just aligning these two. And so if potential referral sources understand what you do, and they understand the kinds of clients and understand how you help them, it becomes quite easy because they want to help you and they also want to help their friends.
That's true. Yeah, I like that. I mean, be clear on who your clients are and what you can do.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
it could go wrong. It could go south if you try to do what you are not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And talking about, discovering who you are. I mean, earlier we talked about, we knowing our strengths and, when you win or sometimes you lose, you learn from the win, you learn from the losses, also from the failure. But now talking about, identify yourself, you talk about focusing on personal strengths rather than just following generic business advice. Like you said earlier, like what you say, like don't use your examples exactly as it is. Just pick something from it, and don't, like, everyone's story is different, and yeah, you just apply what works best for you, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how can professionals then identify and amplify their strengths for success? Like once they found that,
How do they identify their strengths for success?
how can they identify, yes, and amplify their strengths for success?
Good question. I think that would be a case of what do you absolutely love doing? What do you love doing and are really good at? And using myself as an example, I love writing. And I like to think my writing is good. So this is my number one strength. So even if I have a one-on-one meeting lined up, I will write something out just to organize my thoughts. I won't follow a script, but I'll use the writing process to organize my thoughts. Other people have other techniques. Uh, it's a case of really zeroing in, maybe going back to something. Yeah, here it is. Think of two or three achievements that really made you feel good. This was awesome. This is what it's all about. And then unbundle it. What did you do? We were talking about earlier, the experiential learning. What did you do that brought this about? What actions did you take that made this happen? How can you do this again? How can you do it better next time? So it's going back to learning from the experience, unbundling it instead of just certainly by all means celebrate the outcome, but take a look at what factors contributed to the successful outcome, and then figure out, how can I do this again, and how can I do it next time better?
Oh, yeah, I like that. It's like reflecting, taking that time
Oh
to
yeah,
actually
oh yeah,
reflect.
yeah.
Yeah.
We live in such a fast paced world. And I'm sounding like an old guy now, but everything is so fast that quite often we don't have time to think things through. We react. And when we react, it tends to be emotional. And more often than not, it's negative because our brain, our ego wants to protect us. So more often than not, an instinctive reaction tends to be negative. So instead of the instinctive negative reaction, maybe take 10 deep breaths and try again.
And deep breath and try
to
again.
get in, to get into the creative space. I learned something last month. I started a new meditation program. I love meditation, but I started a new meditation program, And this starts out with release anything and everything that stands between me and inner peace. Play with that one for a while. Play with that. Because what happens is we put our own issues there. It may be somebody's an obnoxious person, but it's our reaction to them that causes the problem.
Yeah. Let go of anything that stands between me and my inner peace.
I've done that for a month, and it's wow. I mean, I had a dream last night. I had a feeling of inner peace, so I was thinking it's working. But it's just it is so easy to get locked into the instant reaction. Something happens, we got to not only do we have to react, we have to be right, and we will argue with anybody that takes issue with us. So, 10 deep breaths and twice a day do the echo meditation.
Yeah,
That's Dawson Church, by the way. Awesome. Got to read, but just thinking what's between me and inner peace. I mean, that's almost that's the caution sign right there.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful.
It's a very powerful question to ask. It helps you to also reflect and
I mean, it raises the question, what's inner peace feel like?
I like that. Talking about inner peace, for me, I would love to have a work-life balance. I believe that will give me inner peace, a lot of inner peace, because I'll be able to have everything in a very wonderful equilibrium.
Yeah.
So how can I, as a professional, achieve this? Like, have a work-life balance that feels elusive, especially, for people that, that entrepreneurs, for example, or have services that they offer to people. How can we achieve this kind of work-life balance without sacrificing one part for the other?
I wish I had an easy answer for that. It's the easiest answer is, hey, we've talked about it for the past half hour. That's exactly what we've been talking about. Yeah. I think a lot of it is the purpose, the passion, priorities. The podcast I did a couple of months ago, the question was, in one word, or in as few words as possible, what have you learned that has made the biggest difference? And I said, one word? And the guy said, sure. And I said, no. And just, again, play with that. Jack Canfield says, no to a good opportunity to be ready for a great opportunity. I'm sorry, I am not the right person for you for this project. I'm sorry, somebody else can do a better job. Knowing when to say no and when to say yes. Sometimes we say yes to the wrong things, and sometimes we say no to the wrong things. So it's knowing when to say yes and no. I tend to be very holistic. I like to balance body, mind, and spirit. So it's nurturing the spirit, nurturing the body, nurturing the mind. But that works for me. It may not work for other people. Yeah. It's in case it comes back to knowing who you are. The age-old wisdom, know thyself and to thine own self be true.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So I have a question sometimes, when we are on this journey of starting a business, but we get to some point in our lives where we have to maybe start afresh, start again. And I'm also asking this question because you have a course that is called New Beginnings and New Opportunities, which focuses on transformation. So for me, or for someone out there who is, struggling with fear and uncertainty, what advice would you give to me or to us to, help us be able to just start with all of this fear and uncertainty that we could have?
Fear's a problem. Again, I don't have any pat advice. I was with a friend yesterday, and he's retired, retired designer, and he's closing down his office. And instead of getting rid of old files and old equipment and everything, he's taking it all home, filling his house up with it. And I said, why? And he said, because I don't want to get rid of it. And I said, why don't you want to get rid of it? And he said, well, I'm afraid I might miss something. Okay, I'm afraid, fear. And then I told him about our move almost 3 years ago, about 3 years ago. So we did a downsizing move from a 3-bedroom, 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom house in the suburbs to a 2-bedroom apartment downtown Toronto. 26 years worth of belongings to be gotten rid of.
Oh, wow. That's a lot, I believe.
And it was brutal. That was probably the worst 3 or 4 months I've ever spent in my life. When the decision was made, it was pretty scary. what do we do with all this stuff? Where are we going to live? What are we going to do with a car? And on and on and on. And as we worked through it, it started to become really liberating. We got rid of a lot of household things. There was an online auction we did, and I just wanted it out. And the day that people came to pick up the things they bought, these people were really excited about what they bought. I mean, they bought beautiful plants or this, that, and the other thing. And so we realized we were rehoming all of these things. So not only were we freeing up space for ourselves, we were giving these plants and other things a new life. And the people who were buying them were also getting a new life. So there again, the idea of letting go of the fear, but realizing, hey, letting go of this plant makes us happy. It makes the purchaser happy, and it makes the company that's getting commission on the sale happy. So there's more happiness than there is fear there. So I think it's a case of knowing, letting new beginnings, new opportunities. A new beginning is a new opportunity for something. And what is the opportunity? Who knows what it is? And so it's a case of, instead of focusing on what you're giving up, it might be better to focus on what you can now do. And using our car, for example, instead of spending $1,500 a month on a car, we have $1,500 a month we can spend on something else.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Always seeing the bright side of things, the positive part of it.
Yeah. So it's not just fear is, and again, we have so much emotion attached to our belongings. I can sit in my workspace here, and everything in here is a story. And so I don't want to get rid of that story, but the story's still there. The story's up here.
Yeah. Removing the attachment we have to objects, because everything that we need is right here in us. Physically.
Oh yeah. And it's interesting because my wife and I are both really happy with where we are. We're thinking, man, we should have done this years ago. Should have done this absolute years ago. And I think I said earlier, I feel like I'm 20 years old, but with 60 years experience now. I'm just so excited about what I can do now that I'm in a new neighborhood. Now there's what? 4 universities within walking distance of me.
Nice.
Where we used to live, there's one shopping distance within a short drive. So, it's a totally different kind of experience. So, but it's you got to let go, because we just can't carry on. And it's just the emotional load of all the memories, some of which are good, some of which are bad. But who needs bad memories?
Nobody. Not me.
I don't want them.
I don't want them. Wow, Larry, I've learned so much from you from this conversation.
It's fun. It's just fun.
If there's one thing you could leave us with, and the listeners with, one powerful insight for achieving success in our services and our business, what would that be?
Keeps coming back to being yourself, being your true, authentic self. And we can go as deep as we want with that. True, authentic self, body, mind, and spirit, a holistic approach. And being happy with each of the three elements. And it's not a dollar, or it's not a money kind of a thing. We've learned we can be a lot happier with fewer things. Spiritually, it's kind of nice to connect with the environment. When I get frustrated and annoyed and everything, it's kind of nice to have a big old tree outside I can talk to, with squirrels I can watch, and just continue to learn. I mean, continue to learn through people like you, and continue to learn by what's happening in the world. So it's just making sure that we're alive on all three fronts.
Well, make sure you're alive in your body, spirit, and your mind.
Totally. Absolutely.
Well, Larry, if there's someone out there who wants to reach out to you, work with you, connect with you, get your books, what's the best way to connect with you and work with you?
Best place is my website, larryeasto.com. And instead of an information dump, what I've done is set the front page up as a kind of more question. Of a, not necessarily a funnel, but asking questions. If you want this, click here. 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 And there are 2 free books there. One is primarily for service businesses, for professionals who run their service business. And that book is called 26 Ways for Service Professionals to Get New Business. And you just click on it, and it's a download. You don't need an address, you don't need email address. It's a click instant download. That's one way for each letter of the alphabet. I forget what I used for X, but I know I came up with something. And the other one is the book I just mentioned, New Beginnings, New Opportunities, Letting Go and Moving On. And this is kind of a fun book. This is a freebie. Again, it's instant download. I don't know where that's going to go. I'm just giving away now because there's some really good ideas in there that I'd like to share with people. And who knows where that's going to go. So that's there. And my main book is available wherever books are sold, online, offline. That's there, and everything else is on the website. And there's also I think there's a question there that says, if you don't know what you want, let's talk. So maybe I can help that there. So that's the easiest place. I'm also on LinkedIn. I've taken a bit of a vacation from LinkedIn, but I'll be back on LinkedIn within the next couple of days. So those are the two best places.
Awesome. I'm going to place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode. I must also say, when I visited your website for the first time, I was like, oh, this is something unique, because I've never seen a front home page with just questions. I think about 3 or 4 questions or so like that. I'm like, oh, unique. So yeah. I encourage everyone to click on the link, copy the link, and, get the free resources and also get the book too. Thank you so much, Larry. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's do it again.
Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Are you ready to add a little sparkle to your day? If you're loving the insightful conversations and captivating stories on Mirror Talk Podcast, here's a friendly nudge to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the empowering messages and thought-provoking discussions we bring to your ears. But wait, there's more. We're all about spreading positivity and inspiration, and you can be a part of it too. How? By sharing the love with your friends and family. Share this episode with your loved ones, and let's create a ripple effect of empowerment and growth together. And hey, if you've been enjoying what you hear, why not take a moment to leave us a glowing 5-star review? Your feedback fuels our passion to keep delivering content that resonates with you. So hit that subscribe button, share the love, and leave us a review. Let's keep the conversation going and spread the Mirror Talk magic far and wide. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your support means the world to us.